Because you've seen SpaceX from the beginning when they broke ground, and I think, I don't know, 2013 or so, it was a
Yeah.
while ago now, and what they've become today. And they just keep iterating and growing as a company here and changing the landscape. So talk about the impact, not only, SpaceX here near Boca Chica Beach at the end of Highway 4, but just for Cameron County in general.
Yeah, so as a matter of fact, I knew the county judge that sealed the deal. He was a political mentor of mine and sealed the deal with SpaceX, with Governor Abbott and Cameron County in what was first just a big plot of land. When they first cleared the land, they built the pad, they built the base, and it was amazing to watch the growth from there. And now all across the valley, I mean, not only is SpaceX known, not only can you see the rockets from almost 100 miles away into the Rio Grande Valley, but I know companies that specifically produce products, steel, nuts and bolts, pipe, fuels, and bring them over here from 100 miles away inside of the Rio Grande Valley, doing business and commerce with SpaceX because of the amount and giant that they are in their manufacturing capacity. And then of course, that's not even including Brownsville, the changes in business. I've seen new restaurants, new motivation in the community, the downtown districts, revitalizing a place that historically has been null and void, that has almost gone through inverse gentrification and regressing as a border community, decreased homeless rates, increased art, culture, music, and a whole vibe of the new space race in the world occurring right here in South Texas. And so jobs, homes, technology, everything that is situated around Starbase and Southern Texas is now growing, trending upward, almost at an exponential rate.
I've been coming to Starbase since 2021, and every single time I come back, something looks different. And honestly, even that doesn't fully capture it. Because if you zoom out far enough, the entire landscape down here is almost unrecognizable compared to when SpaceX first broke ground in 2014. What started as sand, scrubland, and a handful of buildings has turned into a full-scale launch and manufacturing complex with roads, infrastructure, housing, and an entire workforce built around it. This isn't just a launch site anymore, it's a company town in the making. As we await the next flight of Starship, I want to zoom out and focus on the local impact. I recently visited Starbase, and it was the emptiest that I've ever seen it, but trust me when I say work was going on 24/7. There are a lot more jobs in the area now, and Cameron County just released an updated local impact report on SpaceX. According to Cameron County, SpaceX's Starship program, including production, launches at Boca Chica, and the recent move of SpaceX's corporate headquarters from Hawthorne, California to Starbase, Texas, has driven what they're calling unprecedented growth in the region. Cameron County is now one of only 2 counties in the entire state of Texas, the other being Harris County, that has 6 modes of transportation. What are the modes? Well, seaport, airport, highway, rail, pipeline, and of course, space. That combination is huge for a company like SpaceX, but it also makes Cameron County a world-class gateway for talent, research, and industry well beyond just rockets. This is infrastructure that attracts more companies, more jobs, and more long-term investment. County Judge Eddie Trevino Jr. summed it up pretty clearly, saying SpaceX choosing Cameron County for Starship development and now moving its headquarters has completely transformed the local economy. We're talking high-skill manufacturing jobs, engineering roles, infrastructure improvements, increased tourism, and broader economic benefits reaching every city in Cameron County and across the Rio Grande Valley. And even though Starbase itself sits right near the coast, the ripple effects don't stop there. The county emphasized continued work with SpaceX on re-nourishing Boca Chica Beach, fighting erosion, restoring dunes, and improving public access. And thank goodness there's a public beach at the end of the highway, or else we wouldn't have this access to Starbase. Looking ahead, Cameron County says as SpaceX ramps up its launch cadence, which we already know is coming, the county plans to expand workforce training programs, streamline permitting, and grow public-private partnerships. And take a look at this infographic. From 2024 to 2026, the gross economic output is over $13 billion, with over 24,000 local jobs supported and indirect taxes over $300 million. Just in 2024, they had over 350 local suppliers and almost 150 million of local supply chain spend. Right now, there's over 4,000 current full-time jobs, 70% of those being local, with an expected increase of 100% to 8,000 jobs in 2026. This is also providing opportunities for non-degree holders to advance. While I was down at Starbase, I ran into a congressional candidate that's a huge fan of what SpaceX is doing, and I wanted to talk about what this kind of rapid growth means for South Texas moving forward.
Gregory Kunkle, GregorykUnkle.
And what are you running for? What's your title?
I am running for U.S. Congress for Texas's 34th Congressional District, encompassing Cameron County, Willacy County, Nueces County, Claiborne County, Kennedy County, and then, of course, Starbase, Texas.
What the heck? Well, that's a huge district.
5 from Corpus Christi to Brownsville.
That is insane. Yeah. So tell me, there's a lot of people running right now, and why are you getting into the crazy game of politics? What is compelling you to run?
Well, being born and raised in this area, specifically being here at Starbase, and I was here watching Starhopper launch that first time, and the new space races here, new technology, new jobs, the American dream being built in this place right behind us. I want that for all the people of South Texas. For too long, South Texas had been stagnant in technology, stagnant in development. We've been considered northern Mexico, and here now, especially thankful to SpaceX and Starbase, we are building our own path, being pioneers in aerospace, bringing new technology. As the future and growth of this place, even from Giga Bay on, new jobs, new manufacturers, the economic impact here from SpaceX alone is over $30 billion. And just down here in the Rio Grande Valley locally, they are working with over 350 companies with 150 million in exports and output. So the business side of growing the Rio Grande Valley, of developing jobs and technology, is happening right here at Starbase.
I know that the area was pretty impoverished. What do you mean by inverse gentrification? I've never heard that before.
Yeah, so inverse gentrification, a lot of people, something that happened in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, something that's happened here because we're a border community, is that people do get upset about the changing of a historic culture, the gentrification of an area. Well, South Texas, someone could argue, has actually undergone through inverse gentrification, where we are part of the United States, but because of uncontrolled immigration, because of the lack of jobs, technology, the overpopulation of our schools, our healthcare systems, our roads, we have actually regressed as a culture, regressed as an economy, and not stayed in competition with other places of growth like we've seen in San Antonio, Houston, San Marcos, Dallas, even College Station. Texas is undergoing a boom across so many different fields, from LNG to nuclear energy to now space travel. And Brownsville, Texas, the Rio Grande Valley, has not been a part of that. As a matter of fact, has regressed in those fields. So now that would be essentially the definition of the inverse gentrification, whereas now we are seeing the develop in this culture, technology, jobs, training, and population.
Yeah, it's interesting because I will survey locals sometime, and I assume, SpaceX has poured millions into the local schools and changed things for the better, and it seems like not everyone shares that sentiment. They don't want this in their backyard. They don't like the big, white, rich Elon billionaire man coming into town. And so, what do you think for the people that still don't want things to change here?
I honestly think it's just a communication issue. And I think when you look at the numbers, when you look at the data, when you look at the science, the help that SpaceX has put out there, even in the local Christmas parade for the past few years, I've been able to attend them in Brownsville, and they have the Raptor engines on a trailer with like Christmas lights and Santa Claus. And it's amazing to see like science and technology incorporated into historical, like Hispanic, Mexican types of celebrations and parades that we have here. So it's gonna take time, but it's mostly a communication issue, I think, in bridging that gap of what SpaceX is doing for the population, what they are doing for the community. And as part of my campaign for Congress, I am hoping to be that man politically that can bridge the gap to the people of what SpaceX is bringing to the table, of stewarding our ecosystem, our ecology. We're right here next to a national wildlife refuge, and we're doing groundbreaking research in aerospace technology. And really in today's day and age, as y'all well know, it takes communication, spreading that message. It's not turnkey, certainly not as fast as SpaceX is doing their aerospace iteration, but I'm hoping to be a part of that solution because it's a problem reaching the Hispanic culture. But I'll be honest, in being born and raised here, there are a lot of things that are hard to change in South Texas sometimes. People have grown up here for generations, and as I was stating, things have stayed the same sometimes. That you see, that's one of them. Blasting out loud Tejano from your truck with Christmas lights, that's just part of something that you see here in the Rio Grande Valley that hasn't changed in the last 50 years since I was a kid, really. So, you know, bridging that messaging and trying to successfully talk about what SpaceX is doing and helping the community, the economy over time, I think will win out.
Well, that wasn't distracting. Talk about, you know, I know some people who their kids were much younger when SpaceX first entered into town, and now their kids are getting aerospace engineering degrees, and like it's really inspiring the youth. I mean, that's huge in a place that seemed to have educational or lack of educational opportunities to now it's like this is a big deal. This is inspiring the youth, and there's a lot of youth here.
Honestly, Ellie, I think you just brought up one of my favorite points in this whole, for lack of a better term, mission of SpaceX here. And that is the youth. You know, my children, we've been coming to South Padre, Boca Chica since they were kids. I have fished these waters my entire life. And now they know it as Rocket Beach. And watching, you know, this new technology, even more than just seeing it, you can feel it. For even myself, I got to experience my first sonic boom on the last couple of launches when the rocket returned, and I've never seen or felt a sonic boom in my life. My children being there next to me. You know, from the beginning days of Starhopper to what we call the water tower here, I've seen rockets also explode as they are iterating, developing, and progressing in the technology that's necessary in solving these problems. And you know, the hope and dreams of South Texas is that a child like mine, even like myself from South Texas here, could one day possibly be the first person on Mars. And going from an impoverished area, you know, some of the highest obesity rates, some of the highest healthcare rates, some of the lowest education and income rates in the United States of America, to being an aerospace powerhouse, getting to Mars, possibly even the first person to step foot there with accolades like Neil Armstrong. That's the stuff dreams are made of. And I think teachers, educators, kids that are following SpaceX that are watching, they want to be a part of that mission. They want to be a part of that dream. And it takes education, it takes will, it takes determination, discipline, and we have all the resources here to do it. We have the universities, we have the schools. One of the problems we do suffer from in the Rio Grande Valley, we call it the brain drain. And even myself and my sisters, we attained university degrees. We left for a while. And it wasn't until I left the Rio Grande Valley, with SpaceX being one of those topics, did I realize the beauty and potential that is in this area. And I think Elon Musk has seen the same thing. There's potential here. And from a physics term, potential is a form of energy. And we're gonna use that energy, the motivation, the energy of students, teachers, professionals, engineers to get us to the moon, to get us to Mars. And I'm even staking my political career for the next 25 years on that.
Yes, SpaceX has massively changed the area, but you're running because it hasn't solved everything. It's not enough. So what here is still broken?
The Rio Grande Valley, going from Corpus Christi to Brownsville, we share a lot of similar problems and a lot of similar potential. First of all, our water resources. The Rio Grande Valley, the reason it's called that, it's originally called the Magic Valley. And we have a huge agriculture population. And yes, we have some major urbanization cities. The population of the Rio Grande Valley is 1.5 million approximately, scheduled to increase to 3 million over the next 25 years, doubling that population. So we need more jobs, we need more water, we need more energy, we need more skilled trade jobs for people to build homes, plumbing, electricians, welders, and then as well going into engineering fields as we develop things in technology like SpaceX and AI here in South Texas. Also, we have our ports. Between Corpus Christi and the Port of Brownsville, 80% of LNG exports to around the world of the United States occur here. We are an energy powerhouse. So some of the problems that our political leaders have failed to deliver on are increasing our education to develop places like SpaceX, increasing our water capacities from a municipal perspective using desalination technology to a rural and agriculture application holding Mexico accountable and giving water to our farmers who have for generations provided food to our country, which is a national security issue. And furthermore, nuclear energy. That's one of my biggest proponents. Texas, as you may have heard, has suffered a lot of grid type of infrastructural damage as well as reputational hits. From brownouts in the summer to blackouts during Winter Storm Uri. We need to supplement our grid, and we have windmills just down the road from here. We have coal, we have gas LNG type of plants, but nuclear energy is something that the state of Texas is embarking on. And I think coupled here in South Texas with technology like SpaceX, nuclear energy can be utilized to supplement our grid, our homes, and even for future energy development on the moon and Mars in long-term technology. So some of these technologies, my platform is actually called Vision 2050 because it's a plan for the next 25 years for the people, my people of South Texas. And I think that's something that our leaders have failed to look at. The long-term solutions in how our communities are changing, the developments that are significant like SpaceX, and the planning that needs to be done. Things like starbase and nuclear energy are not turnkey 1 or 2 year projects. They take decades. And that's why we need leaders that have a vision for the future, for helping the people to accomplish those goals.
Do you think that having SpaceX in the area has helped any of the illegal drug activity, the people trying to, sneak into the United States? I know they had a checkpoint, they got rid of it.
Yeah, so actually I know as a matter of fact it does. I have sources within the Department of Defense, the U.S. Coast Guard. First of all, there's increased patrol activity from the U.S. Coast Guard because of the launches, because of the national security infrastructure that we have here. Even more, just like you were mentioning that Border Patrol check station that's been gone, it was taken away actually because SpaceX had modern technology that is surveilling, looking at the area, and is able to pinpoint and find malfeasance actors, foreign people that may be compromising national security here on Starbase, isolate, locate, and issue people to go interject faster than that Border Patrol checkpoint was able to. So I've been told that SpaceX technology alone was sufficient enough to get rid of that Border Patrol checkpoint, and utilizing that development technology, it's a more secure facility in the areas from our water to the inland space.
Yeah, has that problem gotten any better switching from Biden to the Trump administration?
Oh, definitely. If you're keeping up with immigration numbers, our border is closed. Our border is shut down. Is it perfect? No. Someone asked me recently, do you believe the border is closed and secure? And I said yes, because having Donald Trump as president, having our military there, increased technology presence, our Coast Guard in the waters, we are securing the border. We are, as a matter of fact, even in a mental capacity, disenfranchising people from wanting to come. Previous administrations created an app. They actually even incentivized them with benefits and welfare programs that have stifled South Texas for generations. Now, we are even in their minds of people not wanting to come. If you know you will not make it, if you know you're gonna meet a military professional with an AR-15 at the border, it's so sad to see children crossing the border, rape victims, pregnant mothers, unaccompanied minors. The United States government should not be in the parenting business in taking in all these children. They need to go home to their families and help their communities there. So I do think with this current administration, we've seen a change at the border. It is closed, secure, and now we need to work on maintaining that through legislation, technology, and supporting our military, DHS, and U.S. Customs. I'm a second generation American. My mother's family crossing over from Mexico in the 1950s. Her father joined the Marines and was in Vietnam, became a US citizen and a US soldier, putting his life on the line. And I think all Americans, you gotta do it the right way. And if you're breaking the laws, if you are not following what makes our country great in the laws in our borders, you are subject to the consequences of that. Now, relating to the people, unfortunately, that are subject to those consequences, even children that through no fault of their own, their parents committed the crime maybe, brought them over. It's an unfortunate fact, but if, in all honesty, if your mother or father robbed a bank and got $1 million, you do not get to keep that money. And it's a similar reward with our immigration system, that if your parents broke the law, I'm not saying that you as a victim need to be deported or not allowed to stay, but I don't think you should attain something as precious as U.S. citizenship because of that type of law breaking. And even more, talking to the people here in the Rio Grande Valley, people don't like deportations, but one thing a lot of people don't talk about across the United States is that illegal immigration in those jobs has created a modern form of slavery. And here in the United States, we have a modern form of slavery. Construction workers, people working in kitchens, people washing dishes or cooking food that you don't see. If they're an illegal immigrant and their bosses know that, they are subject to whatever their bosses tell them to do, whether that's working at lower rates that are not the legal threshold of minimum wage, whether that's saying you can't go out on the weekends, you have to stay in this room where I'm hiding you because you're an illegal immigrant, whether that's stating you don't have any freedoms or you do not have the constitutional protections that we have here in the United States, because if you leave this place, I'm going to report you to Border Patrol. I'm going to report you to the police. So in fact, illegal immigration, even here in South Texas specifically, has created a modern form of slavery. Now, is it as bad as historical slavery and slaves going back to Africa in the early colonial periods? No. But in this modern times, the United States should not stand for something. We should have humanity for immigrants, but they do need to follow the correct protocols and laws. People may not care as much about the space race or modern day technology because you know what? They're trying to provide for their family. They are looking for putting money and food on the table for their children. They want to see their children prosper. So they may not even have time to think about an amazing feat for humanity becoming interplanetary, going back to the moon, going back to Mars. There was a generation in the 1960s where going back to the moon was the space race among nations, technology, and development after World War II. Well, we are actually back in that today. And I would tell anybody, there is a modern day space race right now between China and the United States. And China is our biggest geopolitical foe. And so going back to the moon, setting foot on there again, going to Mars, shows and establishes our American innovation dominance, which has got us through World War I, World War II, which has brought us things like SpaceX, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, our global presence. And if the United States is not leading in some of these things like military might, in modern day technology, even the medical field, other countries will come into that power vacuum. We've created modern day inventions, everything from the spacesuit, which was hand sewn here in Houston, Texas, to the MRI, which finds cancer in patients that could possibly die, without that technology being known. The United States has developed these type of things, and we need to keep up our innovation, our prestige, with technology and companies like SpaceX. So I would equate to the average voter that devices like cell phones, the MRI, medical care, your car, your computer are all, the internet are all American inventions. SpaceX, going back to the moon, reusable rockets is the next iteration of American greatness.
So thanks to Gregory Kunkle for doing this interview, and hopefully you guys enjoyed hearing a little bit more about the impact that SpaceX has in the area. I notice it every single time that I'm there, and I think that this helps really put it in perspective. We have a lot to look forward to in 2026, and this is just the beginning of Starbase.